Hey guys, it's me, Foma, and hopefully your week has gone well. It's Friday, and I love Fridays, even though I usually complete a few shifts at the hospital on weekends, but majority of you may have this weekend off. So I really hope that you have something fun planned that allows you just wash away all the gunk that's happened this week. You know, you might have had a tough week for whatever reason, and the weekends is just a great way to spend time with family, really catch up on things, on hobbies that you don't really have enough time during the week to do. But for this training, at least, we're going to be focusing on the 5 signs that shows that you are a highly sensitive nurse. And this group, the name of this group is Highly Sensitive Intuitive Nurse Entrepreneurs. So in order for you to own who you are as a highly sensitive intuitive nurse entrepreneur, it's really important to recognize traits in yourself. So before we get into that, I just want to introduce myself because there's some new members that are part of this group. And my name is Ifeoma Chukwurah, and I'm an intuitive business mentor for highly sensitive and intuitive registered nurses who really desire to leave bedside and open a nurse-owned business, and specifically in the spiritual and holistic areas, such as being a wellness coach or holistic healer. There's so many avenues when you get into spirituality and holistic healing, and that's usually what I do when you work with me. I really fine-tune your healing style, and then we create a business around that so we can leverage your nursing background with your love of holistic medicine and spirituality in a business that is in line with you, so then you can feel more appreciated, have the true freedom to design how often you work, the days you work, how much you get paid, and when you get paid. If you really desire those things, entrepreneurship is for you. And the important thing is, as being a registered nurse, we spend the majority of our career learning a trade of how to take care of people, but we really don't have the entrepreneurship skills to open a business doing what we love. And that's where I come in. So once you work with me, we'll decide your healing style, because there's 4 different ways. Well, not just 4, but there's 4 major healing types for highly sensitive, intuitive people. And once we've recognized your healing mode, we'll design a business for that. And then once we realize that business, I take care of all the back end stuff, all the behind the scene things that kind of puts a damper on healers. Healers are meant to heal. They're not meant to be virtual assistants, payment processors, marketers, Facebook, all these things that are really integral into your business. I take care of that, so you are just free to just do what you do best, which is heal. But enough of that. Again, the topic for this training are 5 signs that you're a highly sensitive nurse. So the first sign that you are a highly sensitive registered nurse, you get easily overwhelmed by noises and chaotic social situations. So if you think about it, when we are highly sensitive, the littlest things, we feel it, right? And when you're a registered nurse in a hospital setting, such as ICU unit, a med-surg telemetry floor, there's machines, there's vent machines, the monitors. There's so many things going on, right? You have family coming in confused where their loved one is. You have patients yelling, why you're not answering my call light. You have different conversations going on at the same time. During shift report, you hear different nurses talking, and if you're a really highly sensitive person, all these things can really cause and overwhelm you, and you might feel physical symptoms from this. Now, if you're in a situation like this, I just want you to know there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the way it is. the hospital setting is not a natural setting. You know, it's a high stress, a lot of sadness going on, a lot of chaotic things. There's certain things you can't control in the hospital. That's just the way it is. But what you do have that's available to you is to ground yourself. And what I mean by grounding yourself is just for you to get into the present, to get out of your head and to realize that it's all about taking one breath at a time, taking 1 second at a time, and there's just building on. So if you are in a situation where you're still in acute care bedside, or you're in a clinic and it's just so much going on and it affects you on a deep level, I encourage you to, when you take your restroom breaks, just to take like a 5-minute break every hour or so, somewhere in your hospital, outside the patio, where it's quiet. You know, maybe there's vegetation, plants, something that is a great reminder to center you, because as highly sensitive, intuitive people, we are meant to be around nature as much as possible. Nature grounds you, nature brings you into the present. So if you are feeling overwhelmed and it affects you to get through your shifts, I really encourage you to go outside, just sit, spread your legs apart, you know, touch your knees. Be cognizant of your breath, because usually when we're overwhelmed, we kind of want control and we don't breathe as much. And by not breathing in the circulation, the oxygen, it starts a negative thing. So that's just one thing you can do. And now another sign that you're a highly sensitive nurse is everyone always comments that you are too sensitive. From a young age, people have always pointed out your sensitivity. But not only do they point out your sensitivity, they point it out in a way where it's like a negative thing. Oh, you're too sensitive. You need to have thicker skin. The world is tough out there. You can't let all these little things bug you so much. And so you go through life thinking there's something wrong with you for feeling things at a deep level. When people say certain words, you feel it like energetically. And I just want you to know that we live in a society where a lot of people take things that numbs them down. We overeat, we drink too much, we're in relationships that are toxic, we gossip, we do all these things to numb ourselves so we don't feel. But when you are a highly sensitive person, it's really hard for you to be numb. We're just genetically born to feel things on a deep level. So majority of society is on the bland train, while your taste bud is at its highest level. You can taste every flavor, while everyone else, they just don't have any taste buds. So I really urge you to reframe your thinking when people comment, oh, you're too sensitive. What I found that's very helpful for me when people make comments like that, and it hasn't been too long, so I don't want you to think I've always knew what to say when people make really idiotic comments, oh, you're too sensitive. I always say, you know, I am a highly sensitive person, and it's actually a gift, and I use it as a registered nurse, and it helps me become a great healer. And I love being highly sensitive because it allows me to be very compassionate. It allows me to anticipate what things need to be done. I can tell when someone's hurting and they don't even have to say too much. A lot of people disclose a lot of personal, deep things to me without even knowing me, because I feel of my highly sensitive traits. And when you look at someone in the eye with all certainty, with like self-acceptance of your traits, people can't say too much. And they might change the subject. But I want you to be prepared. We live in a society where showing how you feel, being very authentic is not popular. Especially when you are in a 9-to-5 career where you live in organizations where organizational culture is rampant, it's very common for people to pretend to be something else just to survive. But when you're a highly sensitive person, particularly a highly sensitive registered nurse, it's really hard for you to pretend. I don't know about you, but it's really hard for me to pretend. If I don't like you, if I don't like something, I show it on my sleeves. It's just, I can pretend. I can play the game. It's not like I'm not aware of it, but why? Why? So that's just my point on that, my views on that. The third sign that you're a highly sensitive nurse, you enjoy spending a significant amount of time alone rather than being in group settings. I see someone's joined, so like and I'll shout you out, or say, hey girl, in the comments section, and I'll shout you out, but I'll continue speaking. But when you're a highly sensitive person, you know, Dr. Elaine Aron, she's the one who came up with this term HSP, highly sensitive people. And this group is highly sensitive, intuitive nurse entrepreneurs. She states that 30% of highly sensitive people are extroverts, right? So you can be a highly sensitive person and really enjoy being around a lot of people. You get charged up when you're around a lot of people. But the majority of highly sensitive people are introverts. And introverts means you gain all your energy by being with self. You require a lot of alone time. But when you usually say introverts in society today, it's synonymous with being shy. And shyness is something about being judged. There's something that happened to you as a child or in the past, and it was a negative situation. So anytime you're in a situation that's similar to when you were a child, you go within, you feel uncomfortable, you feel socially awkward. But you don't need to be an introvert to be shy. Extroverts can be shy as well. So when people just say, oh, you're shy, I always correct, I'm not shy, because when it comes to certain things like pushing my boundaries, being disrespectful, people see that different side of me. Being an introvert means you enjoy being with self. And to be with self allows you to be so super creative. You require a lot of alone time to create things. And that's what's beautiful about being a highly sensitive, intuitive person. You have time to be self-aware. So many times people comment to me, Ifeoma, you have such great awareness. It's not hard to be really aware of yourself when you spend a lot of your time by yourself. You know, I avoided peer pressure. Hey Sherry, thanks for joining. I avoided peer pressure in high school because when you enjoy your own company, like you really don't, it's not a problem. But that's one of the benefits of being an introvert. So if you feel like it's always awkward for you to do social situations, it's just not that. It's because as humans, we emit these energies. We all have a vibrancy. We all vibrate a certain amount of energetic field. So can you imagine compounding that with hundreds or 10, 20 people? All of them have their own energy, all of them have their own thoughts, and depending on your level of sensitivity, a majority of us in this group are highly sensitive, intuitive people, is so strong that it overwhelms us and we need to disengage and just get it back together. So there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you're a specifically made car that requires specific treatment. So if you think about it, a Honda Civic you can drive every day. It's a great car. It's a reliable car. It's an affordable car. But a Maserati is almost $250,000. It's not wise to drive it every day and requires certain upkeep. But you don't think the Maserati is less of a car because you can't drive it every day and that it costs a certain amount to upkeep it. You just know because it's beautiful. It has special features. And because it has special features, it needs to be treated delicately. That's just how highly sensitive people are. There's nothing wrong with us. It's just that we require special treatment for ourselves. And that's really my goal for this group, is for all you nurses who desire to open your own business, but you also know that you have these highly sensitive, intuitive traits, and it's hard to balance it. You feel overwhelmed, which is the last sign, which I will lead into. No, actually I have two more, excuse me. Watching violent films affects highly sensitive people, aka nurses. When you're a sensitive person, I just watched the film Logan, which was about the Wolverine, the X-Men series, and that movie made me cry. And I don't really cry in films for some reason because it's really easy for me to predict the ending. And I was pleasantly surprised at how deep this movie was, and it's critically acclaimed. People are saying it might be the first sci-fi or action film that's nominated for a major awards next year. And it was very emotionally tugging. Now, once I realized I'm a highly sensitive person, I refrain from watching violent movies. I refrain from watching news. Sometimes I watch news just to make sure I'm not in a bubble. But if you notice, when you watch the news, you feel a certain way. You feel the gloom is here. You feel like you're not safe. And then you have these negative images, and we're visual people. So if you see a child suffering from some natural disaster, that imprint, that facial expression, the way that child's eyes were, is going to be in your mind for a significant amount of time compared to someone who's not as highly sensitive, right? So it's very important to watch really uplifting films, comedies, things that keep you in high vibe, because violent films, things that are very graphic, stays in our heads more. And the last sign of being a highly sensitive registered nurse is you are just an emotional magnet to vampires. I call them emotional vampires. I didn't create this term. It's very common for empaths, which is another term that people describe intuitive or highly sensitive people, and I'll discuss that later on another date. But when you're a highly sensitive person, there's something about you, there's just this calmness, this very inviting essence about you, where people who are wounded, who are going through deep stuff, are just attracted to you. And if you do not know how to set boundaries and shield yourself from these individuals, you will be drained. And you can imagine being a registered nurse, you're dealing with people who are suffering. You're dealing with people who have cancer, who've just found out they had cancer, who need surgery, people who find out that their insurance is not going to cover a certain treatment, and they have bills and all these things, and they dump and they dump and they dump. And if you do not understand how to set boundaries, physically, energetically, you will be burnt out. And many of you may be burnt out for just this reason, by not having boundaries. Now, when I mention shielding is something that you can grow to be a master in. As highly sensitive, intuitive people, we really rely on our third eye. Our third eye is the pineal gland, right? So if you think of when you're daydreaming and you're imagining something, it's so super clear and lucid. It's really hard to decipher if it's in the present, but that's your third eye. When you imagine yourself 10 pounds lighter, wearing a certain dress, you're using your third eye. You're using your vision, but it's not in the physical. Now, but when you are around individuals who are kind of negative, some people are negative, they don't know it, they just don't know any better, and there's some people who are very narcissistic and they just don't care that you've been hearing their story all day long. They just want to dump on you like you're a trash man. I want you to envision yourself. For me, I did this when I was in my 20s, and I don't know why, but now I don't know. But when I was in my 20s, anytime I would feel overwhelmed or I'd be worried that my mom is going to some party early in the night, I would just imagine her enveloped in this green light. So like this big bubble of light would be surrounding her. And I always wonder, why the heck was I thinking about this? This is so weird. But it worked. It made me feel good. So I never thought much of it. But as I studied and worked on my spiritual practice and my work as a intuitive business mentor, I came across lots of books that had certain rituals that was similar to something that I did organically, and I didn't know where it came from. So when you are in a place where around people who are negative, or when you're going to talk to a friend who really needs your support, but unfortunately every time you leave her presence, you feel down in the dumps. So the way to be supportive to your friend and still be healthy to yourself, before you meet your friend, really give her the white light. I like pink. I love pink and green. Just picture yourself shielded with some green light, white light, whatever light you need. But there's each light has a specific service, and I can share that in another video. But before you meet anyone who you know is going to take an emotional toll on you, shield yourself. And anytime you feel yourself holding your breath too much, your arms are tense, your hands are like clenched like that, take a deep breath and bring on the light. So when they're talking to you, in your third eye, you have a shield. So whatever they're doing does not penetrate the barrier of your energy field. And by doing that more often, you can talk to anyone without taking on their burdens, because you can bring people to water, but you can't force them to drink, right? And so none of us are God. All we can do is support people, empower them, give them resources that they can follow up on themselves. But you're doing someone a disservice by taking over their burden, by making them feel that they can't do it on themselves. We are here to empower other people and to give them resources. And if you ever have a friend where you feel like no matter what you do, you still feel overwhelmed by speaking to this person, or they're draining you. You know someone's draining you when you see them on the phone, the caller ID, and you just want to avoid the call. Just say, you know what, I'm starting to see a trend so-and-so, and I really want to be here for you, but I've noticed after, being around you for this X amount of time that I'm starting to feel certain physical symptoms, but I still want to be here for you. So what I did was I found this therapist or this support group or this book, and I think you should, on your free time, look into that, because I really want you to feel better. But at this time, I need to take care of myself. I just feel at this time you need more support than what I can give. But I'm still here for you. I still check in with you. But I feel right now you need more support. Have you thought about talking to a therapist or a priest? Some people don't like therapists, but you can recommend a spiritual, if they're into church or whatever their spiritual belief is, just to let them know that it's time for them to venture out to other people, because you no longer can just be their one and only support system. So those are the 5 signs of being a highly sensitive registered nurse. First, you are a woman, and a woman, you are a person. So by recognizing the signs of being a highly sensitive person, you can then bridge that with being a nurse and recognize areas you can improve so you are less burnt out and you feel more energized. Because I'll be honest with you, if you really desire to have true freedom, have a holistic spiritual based practice where you're healing patients. Maybe you're healing patients who have diabetes and you never really have a chance to spread that education with them because the time is limited in the hospital. If you desire to do that, you have to practice that. You need to embody who you want your clients or patients to see. It's time for you to heal yourself. And many nurses neglect themselves because we're so busy giving and giving and giving. And these codependency issues that I'll share in another video about codependency. But I want you to know that you have more than out of anybody in the world as nurses, for being trained to save people's lives, to be the point person that decides if this person goes into a code or not. You have everything that it takes to open an online, spiritual-based, holistic business. But before that can happen, you really need to recognize who you are and what you are meant to be on this earth. Because for you to have a successful business, and when I mean successful, a business that motivates you to get out of bed just eagerly, knowing that there's people you're here to serve, you really need to know who you are. And by knowing who you are, you need to embrace your traits by not, judging them like you have some leprosy. By owning your highly sensitive, intuitive gifts will make you a better nurse, which will then make you a better business person. So if you have any questions and you would like to know more on how you can start an online holistic spiritual based business without starting from scratch, without going back to college for several more years, and it's just going to teach you how to get paid by the hour, I invite you to contact me. I'll provide the link to my calendar after this recording is over. But in the meantime, really practice the steps that I've disclosed to you in this training about grounding yourself, being a part of nature as much as possible. As highly sensitive and intuitive people, nature is our best friend. It really grounds you and makes you feel like you're not alone. And then lastly, just set boundaries and shield yourself from negative energy by envisioning a nice bright light, green, pink, purple, whatever your light you want. And then also communicating to those individuals who are pushing your boundaries, are taking more than they're giving. So I look forward to talking with you guys again on Monday. And just comment below what you've gained from this training, or what you like, what practices you use to stay sane as a registered nurse. That's it. Bye, guys.